All right. Hey, everyone. Sorry this is so late. This is normally what I try to get out to you by Monday. But after listening to your conversation, and I've said this before in here, when it comes to project-based learning, active learning strategies, it's really kind of organic for us being in technical education that we can do some of these things. So to the points here on this slide, students learning should build knowledge to tackle realistic, real-world situations or problems. It's easy for us to do when we have labs, when we have simulations, and we have projects like Eric brought up, community action projects. Those are built into our curriculum, so that's pretty easy for us, and it's I think one of the attractions students have to technical education. And when I hear residential schools talk about it, they talk about these sort of things like they're novel ideas when this is what we do every day. But then the next part, students taking an increased control over their learning experiences, that's really hard for them if we don't give them guardrails. And this is really basic project management skills. And I think a lot of our students just don't come in with a lot of those skills. And so, and it was talked about in the conversation, leaving it up to students to get things done without a lot of guidance. And I think depending on where they're at in their education, first semester out, probably lots of boundaries and guardrails. But this is about creating kind of scaffolding, check-in points. If there's a large project for students to do, if they're early on in their career, building in very set checkpoints to make sure that they have, little phases of that project done, little bits at a time. It reminds me of when my daughters were little and they had to clean their room and they were so overwhelmed because the room was just trashed. And I tried to just say, okay, go in there and focus on one thing. Go get all your books. Just go look for all your books and get them back on your shelf. And when you're done with that, let me know and we'll go from there. And then the next thing was, okay, you're done with your books. Now it's clothes. Just focus on clothes and pick them all up and determine if they're dirty or they're clean. And then when you're done with clothes, come back to me. And so we need to do that with our students too. And so that's where students taking increased control, and then the next one being instructors serving as coaches. That's what we can do. And early on in their career, they're pretty narrow guardrails. But as they progress through your program and they learn some of those project management strategies, those guardrails can get wider and wider, and less coaching and more facilitating. And so incorporating some of that into your courses is going to be really helpful for them, and you'll see it come to fruition that last semester of their education here. And then, of course, working in pairs or groups, and like Kelsey alluded to, just because they don't like it doesn't mean it's not good for them. This is also to Austin's point of we need to get students more involved in their learning. There's a lot of learning that goes on when they have to work with another human, and facilitating and coaching through that, I think, is important. And as much as you can do to mirror what your students are going to experience in industry, the more successful they're going to be once they get to industry. So let them be uncomfortable here. Make it a safe environment to be uncomfortable, ask questions, maybe fail a few times. But also this is where the rubrics come in, and this was mentioned several times. If you have a grading rubric that you can give them ahead of time and say, this is what I'm looking for, plan accordingly, and then have the students complete that rubric on one another and give feedback on their partner or their group team members, because I think that's valuable input as well. So based on the conversation, you are all doing a lot of these things, but being more deliberate about embedding some of this project-based learning into the curriculum early on so that they can just build on it, and you can widen those guardrails once they get to their last semester here. So great conversation. Thank you for sharing, and hopefully you were able to kind of take some ideas from one another and incorporate accordingly. So, all right, thanks a lot, guys.